Hey guys, welcome to my review of the Husqvarna 701 vitpilen. So I bought this bike about 3 weeks ago and I've ridden about 1,000 kilometers, so I have got to know the bike pretty well by now. I also had a 690 Duke R 2017 model before I had this bike, so that bike is basically the same as this one in terms of engine and the chassis and stuff, so I guess I'm qualified to do a review on this bike. So the Husqvarna vitpilen was launched in 2018. The first year model came out in 2018. So what the Husqvarna has done with this bike is to make a cafe racer version of the 690 Duke from KTM. So this is basically a KTM 690, but they have obviously changed the looks on this bike, so this is a cafe racer instead of a naked bike. They have some good bits onto it, like the quick shifter. The bike has a 693cc single cylinder. It's the biggest single cylinder in production as of right now, so that makes the bike kind of special in that way. The bike is very torquey. It has 74 Newton meters, so you get the power from the get-go. You don't have to work with the revs on this bike. It has torque everywhere in the rev range. It's very torquey from the low and into the mid-range. On the top it doesn't have that much torque. It tops out at around 9,000 RPM, so it's not a high revving machine. It's about the torque. So the engine makes sense when you are right on twisty roads, when you are on and off the gas and twisting the throttle on and off and pulling out of corners. Then the bike or the engine makes a lot of sense. For like commuting and town riding, it isn't that enjoyable because it's a pretty lumpy engine, so it vibrates quite a little bit. It's very smooth for a single cylinder, but it's kind of lumpy and does not like to rev in the low RPMs. You always have to have the RPMs above 3,000 RPMs, or unless the engine hesitates. So that's something to keep in mind, to always have the revs above 3,000 RPMs. And the engine makes this bike a lot of fun to ride because it has a lot of torque. It makes the bike gets a good fun factor because of that engine. So it's basically like a supermoto engine in a cafe racer. And then we can maybe talk a little about the sitting position. The bike is pretty leaned forward. It has clip-ons, so you sit a little forward on this bike. You still have a lot of leg room on the bike, so it isn't uncomfortable with your legs as on many sport bikes. So I guess it's something in between a naked bike and a sport bike when it comes to the sitting position. For longer rides it is doable. It's not the best bike for that. I've done like 5 to 7 hour rides on this bike and it's fine. At the end you get a little sore in your arms and neck and in your back, but it's totally doable. But it's not the best bike for that stuff. And it's more comfortable when you ride it faster because your weight gets pushed off the handlebars. It's most comfortable when you do like country roads and on the highway. It's not that comfortable for riding in town and such. So we can maybe talk a little about the components on this bike. When it comes to the brakes, the bike has a Brembo single caliper, and it like the Duke 690, it also had a Brembo, and it's plenty of stopping power. It's a good bite when you touch the brakes, so it is you get a confident feeling when braking on this bike. And what is nice as well is that it does have ABS and traction control, but you don't feel the ABS and the traction control unless you are doing like an emergency stop. So as far as right now, I haven't felt the ABS kicking yet. That's good, I guess. I don't like it when... That's the cops. So the brakes are actually really good. A lot of people, they complain about this only one caliper, but that's not necessarily good to have two calipers, because two calipers add extra weight to the bike, and you don't want any extra weight on your bike when you don't need it. And when it comes to the suspension, the bike has WP suspension on both the shock and the forks is WP, and it's fully adjustable. You can just adjust compression and rebound. You just adjust here on the forks, and you can also adjust in the rear, so fully adjustable. And that's perfect if you want to do canyon riding or more aggressive riding, and also for track riding. So you can adjust the suspension for your weight and for your riding style. So that's very cool. That's what's kind of cool about this bike, is that you can do a lot of things on it. You can go for a twisty country road ride, you can ride it in town, you can go to the track, you can do touring on, you can do like everything. It's like a good bike for everything. But the engine and the chassis likes when you're riding it fast. It makes more sense when you ride it fast, because this bike is very, very flickable. It only weighs 157 kilos dry, so it's really lightweight. So it flicks very easy from side to side. And this bike is actually 10 kilos heavier than the 690 Duke that I had, but the forks are steeper, have a steeper incline. So it feels more flickable when turning the bike. So it actually feels lighter than my Duke actually, but it isn't. So we can maybe talk a little about electronics on this bike. This bike has traction control, ABS, and quick shifter up and down. The electronics is adjustable. You can switch off the traction control if you want, so you don't have to use those riding aids if you don't like riding aid. And so the quick shifter is, as I said, up and down. It's a good quick shifter when you are on the gas and have a lot of RPMs, but when just using it in low RPMs and in low speed, it isn't that smooth, because the quick shifter works better when riding fast or using more revs or accelerating. So it tends to go into false neutrals if you're not on the gas. But the quick shifter is a lot of fun to use when you are riding aggressively on the country roads or on the track, or just riding fast, or going on the highway and stuff like that. So we could talk a little about the practicality of this bike. It is a pretty small bike. It's not a big bike. It feels kind of small and tiny, so it's easy to use in traffic and stuff like that. It's easy to ride as well, since it's so lightweight and torquey. So it's definitely a bike you can start riding on. And this bike has good tires. It has Bridgestone S21 tires, so it's a sport-oriented tire. And also, when it comes to practicality, the bike is very good on gas mileage. It uses about 3.5 liters per 100 kilometers when driving economically. So we get a lot of range on this bike, but it has only 12 liters, but because it has good gas mileage, you don't have to fuel up the bike that often. And when it comes to like servicing and stuff, the bike has a service interval of service every 10,000 kilometers. That's 6,000 miles if you're in the US. So that's a pretty good service interval for a single cylinder. Single cylinders are known for using a lot of oil and stuff, so sometimes if you just ride this bike hard, you should change oil more often. So maybe do like a oil change every 5,000 kilometers, so you will be on the safe side. And a lot of people, they think of the 690s and the 701s as very unreliable motorcycles, because they're one-cylinder bikes and they use a lot of oil, and it's it's more maintenance than, let's say, like a MT-07 and stuff. But I had my 690 Duke. That was perfectly reliable with my 15,000 kilometers. It was actually no problems on that at all. And the seat on this bike is pretty hard, but you don't lay a lot of weight on the seat, so it doesn't really matter that much. So it's not too bad actually, because your weight is in your legs. You take up all the weight in your legs. That's probably why you won't notice that much that it's a hard seat. But what is kind of bad is the edge here. It's kind of like an edge on the seat here. That kind of digs into your knees sometimes, especially after like long rides and stuff. I guess we take the bike on the highway for a little bit here and see how it feels. So it's kind of windy to ride this bike on the highway, but your weight is forward, so you kind of lean in the wind, so you don't get any like turbulence or stuff like that, which I got on my Duke, and it was really uncomfortable. It's kind of not too bad actually. It's not the best bike for highway riding, but you can totally do it. It's not too bad. So I guess it's pretty good for highway. So how does the vitpilen ride in town? Here is where the vitpilen commercial was filmed actually, on this bridge right here. So the vitpilen in town isn't that good because of the seating position. It isn't comfortable when you're riding slow, so because you got a lot of weight forward, it gets quite uncomfortable when you ride in town. But the chassis and the engine is really great for town. It's a lot of torque, so just pull right away out from the intersections, and the lightweight makes it really easy when you flick it through traffic, when lane splitting and roundabouts and stuff like that. The bikes get pretty hot sometimes when you ride in town, because it's a big thumper. That bus just did a red light. So if you're gonna ride a lot in town, I wouldn't buy this bike, because it makes a lot more sense when you get it on the country roads or on the highway. There are a lot of bikes that are way better for town riding because of their seating position. A forward-leaning seating position doesn't make sense when you ride in town. So if you're gonna ride a lot in town, I'll suggest you buy the vitpilen instead of the vitpilen. But you get a lot of attention when riding this bike in town, because there's nothing really like this bike in terms of looks. It's kind of a blend between a naked bike and an old cafe racer. But it's like classic and modern at the same time. That's why a lot of people like it. When I've pulled up to like bike meets and just parked out of places in town, a lot of times just people come by and stop and say, what is this bike, and ask questions about it. So if you like getting some attention, this is the bike for you, definitely. And there are not a lot of them either, they're pretty rare, so it's not like a Yamaha or something where everyone has it. There's a few of those bikes. So I guess this was my review of the Husqvarna 701 vitpilen. If you have any questions about the bike or any ownership questions, just ask me in the comments below. And make sure to follow me on my Instagram. The link is in the description. And if you liked this video, just click on the like button and make sure to subscribe on my channel. We'll probably post some more videos on the vitpilen. So if you want to see more content on the vitpilen, just subscribe to my channel and click on the bell icon, so you will be notified when I do a new upload. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye.